Let's not keep her waiting any longer. A head teacher is joining us, Christine Cunniffe. She's head teacher, LVS Ascot. It's a co-ed educational independent day and boarding school in Berkshire, to talk about all this talk about a social media ban for under 16-year-olds. Christine, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and good afternoon. And I enjoyed your debate. I'm privileged to be hearing it.
Well, can I ask, co-educational school, what's the toilet situation and changing room situation for the girls and boys at your school?
It hasn't changed at all.
As in, it hasn't changed from when it was just sensible and it was for boys and for girls?
Yeah, and of course there will be challenges along the way, and when that happens, then we'll deal with it. But at the moment, it's not an issue.
Good. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. In terms of the policy at your school when it comes to access to phones, smartphones in particular, or social media, do you have a policy that you impose during the school day, and indeed for pupils who are boarding? I mean, it's unusual. Most of us go to comps. We don't go to private schools or certainly boarding schools. But do you have a policy at the school, and how strict is it?
Yeah, so we have a no phones during the school day. So the schools are actually put in what we call yonder pouches, which are pouches that are magnetically sealed during the day, so the children can't use them. And then when they leave in the evening, then they can be released. Yeah. And that's because we have children that travel a long way, and I do accept that children need to have the communication for their own safety. Yeah. But there is a very strict policy, and if children try and access through a second phone, for example, they're sent home.
Simple as that. It's a clear breach. And when you instigated that policy, had there been a bit more of a free for all before then, and did things change? Were kids happier? Would they concentrate more? Did their schoolwork improve?
Yeah, we try to embrace it. We have to look at everything that comes our way, embrace it, see what happens. But we found as soon as we locked them away during the school day, the children were actually talking to each other more. Yeah. You see at the break time now they're playing like young children should be playing. And there's a time and place for mobile devices, and it should be limited. And I know we're going to probably be coming on to that in a minute.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Well, there's two different issues. They're being debated pretty much alongside each other, but I think they are separate. One is access to phones. The other is social media. But it's fascinating. The doctors and medical experts, the Academy of Medical Royal Colleges. So these are all the male, all the colleges together, Royal Colleges. These are the top experts. They have warned of the growing evidence of health harms from tech and devices on children and young people. They said frontline clinicians have given personal testimony about, but they say horrific cases they've treated across every speciality. And in terms of unrestricted content, unrestricted screen time for children and young people, the impact of them on not just their mental health, but their physical health as well, and especially also their exposure to harmful content online. But linking to that, a lot of talk in Britain about following what the Australians have done already, which is bringing this ban on phones for under 16s, but also now talk about this under 16 social media specific ban. What do you make of all of that debate?
Well, there's a lot there to unpack. The first one is about young children and devices. And I must admit, I've got children in my 20s now, so I'm really glad that I've lived that part and don't have to cope with this now. But the amount of families I see when I'm in supermarkets and their young children as young as toddlers have got iPads.
Oh, I know.
It seems a really easy way to keep children quiet. Now, that's wrong. And the amount of phones and devices at the dinner table, and also children and parents should be playing together, getting outside together, doing activities together. There's a time and place for devices, and it's not at a very early age. The second thing about social media is I really would worry if there was a blanket ban on social media under the age of 16, because children are very savvy. It's like water, they will find a way. And they will find a darker way to do it. Like we know across the world, when you ban something, it goes underground. Yeah. So I'm very much for the accountability of the tech providers. That's where the liability, the responsibility and accountability lies as well. And if we ban it, we're taking that away. So they need to be held to account. And it could be a halfway house. So for example, for children under the age of 16, maybe less algorithm-driven content, maybe a limit on the content, but it's part of education to be able to look at this and educate children to use it safely as well.
That's it. You can't just have them suddenly going, oh, it's 16 or 18, and now I'm allowed to use this. They won't have any experience.
It's like anything. You tell under 16 they can't do this, this and this. What are they going to do? Day one after 16, they're going to go crazy. Yeah. So it's about education, about the softy approach, and holding the tech companies to account. Yeah. Because we've got these online safety bills, we've got all these promises, and we're not seeing anybody being held to account. Yeah. And that's what we need to do.
Well, that's it. I always think this can't be beyond the word of man. It's like the battles we had over, the government versus Elon Musk and X over the Grok, stripping women down and, creating images images in a bikini. It happened to me over Christmas period. Someone asked, you think, well, you know, A, let's check your hard drive, mate. But B, you know, it can't be beyond the wit of these companies that, as high-tech savvy as they are, and their willingness to, you know, ability to use their algorithms to drive, you know, a child looking at anorexia sites to more anorexia sites or suicide sites. If they can do that, they can absolutely drive them the other way. But they can also say to people, yeah, you can't do that. We literally won't let you do that. They're able to do it. Do you think there needs to be more pressure on them to do that? Because it sounds to me like you are very much echoing what Ian Russell, the father of Molly Russell, who took her own life after viewing suicide and self-harm content online. And he said, you'd have thought he was someone who's very much into there being more controls online. But he said that banning under 16s from social media would be wrong, again, because they will go to places that, you know, parents will have no idea where they are, teachers will have no idea where they are, and they are going to see a heck of a lot worse.
It's a really dangerous playing ground, this one, and we as adults have got to guide children openly, transparently, and educate them. And as adults, we've also got to learn about the dangers too, because I think, you know, some adults probably don't know what those dangers are. Some do and put their head in the sand, think it's not going to happen to their family.
Some don't bother. I mean, lots of the time I look at, you know, go into a restaurant or a cafe or something, and you get parents, they arrive, and they literally, you know, they're all like this with their phones. I mean, you know, mum and dad, the reason, you know, the kids are on their phones. The kids would really love it if their parents bothered to talk to them occasionally. The parents are often the worst offenders.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, at least have those conversations and say, look, this was in the news. It's really disturbing. We need to talk about this. And, you know, and contact schools as well, because we've got online safety platforms and we have discussions. But nationally, I bet if you were to ask many head teachers, there's not much engagement in online safety programs that the schools have. And I know a lot of information goes home to parents, but it's so important. I think in our list of dangers in this day and age, this is right at the top of the tree. And this is something that everybody should be paying attention to.
And it is fascinating, as always, when parents, and I know when my daughter was at primary school, talking about stranger danger. I was, you know, a man at the end of the school gates. I was always more worried about crossing the road safely, not, you know, with the phone, but also what's happening online. It's amazing how many people, you know, if a man turned up at your door at 10 o'clock at night and said, can I come and speak to your 13-year-old daughter, please? You go, don't bloody well think so. But you're quite happy for him to pose as a 14-year-old girl on the social media and talk to your daughter all night. I mean, you know, most parents, as you say, have got their head in the sand about what's really going on.
But it's not, but also adults are also being duped themselves.
Yeah.
You know, online scams, you know, the way AI is used now to fool people. Well, so, you know, adults are equally vulnerable, but the children are in our care and they're looking to us for safety. And that's what we've got to put at the top of the tree. Really
good to talk to you. Thank you so much, Christine Cunniffe, head teacher of LVS at Ascot, an independent school in Berkshire. Benjamin, I mean, it's really interesting to, you know, no nonsense head there. But this is the thing, most parents do have their heads in the sand, I think, and I think a lot of parents, and I understand that, you know, you're on a long flight or you're on a long journey on holiday in the car, have an iPad, let's all have a break. But basically, from the age of about, frankly, I've seen babies about 1 year old having, you know, holding their mum's mobile. I'm sorry, that's just bad parenting. We've got to start talking about this. But the social media, kids are being left to their own, quite literally to their own devices on social media. And they are, there's bullying, there's all the girls doing the weird pouting and the, you know, here's a picture of my boobs to the boys who demand them. I mean, the stuff that they are seeing, the stuff that they are doing themselves, it's just unhealthy. Yeah, the dangers, I think, are massively underestimated, even though they're so obvious at this stage. The only point I disagreed with the head teacher on was she suggested, well, if you give them access at the 16th birthday, they'll gorge on it like someone does when they get access to vodka. Well, actually, I think you probably won't have the addiction to social media if you've never been on it in the first place. And isn't that part of the goal? I think that my thing is, I think they'll get on it anyway, in the same way that, I don't know about you, I had my first drink before the age of 18. I was working in a nightclub at 16, for the love of God. I'm pretty sure I had a drink when I was there. Well, so I think that I'm on the fence about it. I think probably instinctively we will reflect on giving 13-year-olds social media like we reflect on our grandparents smoking, at 12 years old. Yeah, in the car with the kids. Exactly, yeah. Except I think we should look to Australia and see whether it works, because if there are backdoors, if it doesn't really illustrate, prove the problem, we'll see in Australia. And it doesn't have to work completely. In the same same way that people will drink and smoke and do drugs, even though there are laws against them and age limits, people will break the law. The point is, can you protect as many children as possible? But I've also got that added balance, which is if children have to be ID'd for their age, by definition, so will adults. And at that point, you're then taking away a lot of independence and freedom and privacy for adults. So it's such a difficult balance. Again, I know what Tony Blair would say the solution was altogether now. It's ID cards.
Oh, I agree.
Digital ID card. Yeah, I haven't got time to do that right now. Another